But I think I'm gonna go with the focus on promptings of your sword, because whenever you point the sword at someone, it like, and it's a demon, that it instantly like starts glowing. So I think I'm gonna do that. Demon's Bane, tell me where she is. You whisper as you hold your weapon in front of you. Immediately you notice a tug following. The prompting, you pivot and now face Azazel, whose eyes are roving about. Not her, you whisper. There's a sound of clanking behind you as Azazel's eyes swivel and focus beyond you. You leap and spin as you struck in the head. You fall to the floor with a splash. The sound of clanking armor is now above. There's a low laugh. You roll as you whistle, as a whistle goes by your head, followed by a ring of steel against stone. Swiftly you're on your feet, backing up from the water. The sound of clanking metal. You know approximately where she is. Stand up and fight with your sword. Run away as best you can. I don't think it's the best you can fight, but I don't have health. Run and away the best you can. I think that's the better option. You run. Not that there's anyone to run. Since you're pretty sure you're hopelessly locked inside this chamber, so it beats trying to stand and fight an invisible opponent. Vesa is definitely pursuing you, as evident by the louder clank of her armor, the splashes of her footfall. Yeah, the splashes of her footfall. Look for those. This might have been a better, cleverer strategy than you thought. That's what I'm saying. Indeed, Azazel seems to appreciate it as she swivels her head like a hawk and dives as she slashes out with her long bullwhip. Turning to see behind yourself, you see the snake-like leather of the whip wraps around an invisible core. What core? Azazel yanks back and water explodes on the floor with a clank of metal. Water explodes? Oh, she died? She is down. You pounce, bringing your sword over your head in a mighty chop, aiming near where the whip is coiled. The holy blade strikes an invisible target, sending you up sparks. Yet you feel the blade cut through to something softer. There's a shimmer. Then Vesa is visible at your feet. You cannot see most of her face with her visor down, but her eyes are wide and afraid. Her breastplate is cleaved open. Magical blue sparks spring out. The blood is beginning to cloud the water around her. The whip is wrapped around her arm. She thrashes and sits up, preparing to stand. You swing and cleave through her shoulder plate, sending up more glowing sparks. Azazel lands behind Vesa with one great swing from a sword, decapitates her. Azazel then launches from the floor, flying up as she expertly, perhaps magically, unwhips her whip from Vesa's dead arm. That armor certainly comes from Galmegas' personal trove and was worth 100 souls, he says, through gritted teeth, flicking her whip through Vesa's corpse. Oh, she wanted the armor? Press your hand against your wound and back away. Your sword at the ready as you face off against the hovering succubus. You're ruined. She whips her bullwhip towards you. The tip whistles through the air just outside your sword's reach. I accept your thanks for slaying your enemy. You say, raising your blade to her in salute. That's a good one. That's a good one. I know, that's kind of cute. I like that. Azazel stares at you with a faint smile as she skims the tip of her bullwhip in the water below, whirling it in a perfect circle. Are more of those coming? You point at the blood demon corpse bubbling and frothing in the water. Doubtful, says Azazel. Those Babao demons were gated in by Vesa. She says, murder is their only purpose. Is that not the purpose of all demons, you say? Rolls her eyes and waves at you dismissively. Enough, you know what I want to know. My sweet love, you ask. You meant that to sound confident, but after you exert it comes out as a croak like before. Have you met? She says with a mock innocence. A few times, I suspect, you say. You make a very convincing maid in Avis. I mean, aside from the strangling. That is true. Her smile gets larger. Since you're so clever, I'm sure you know when to stop talking like a fool and get to what I want to know. You're going to tell me what was written on that scroll. What do I have a feeling that once I do, that whip is going to wrap around my throat, you say. She shrugs. Better than what I'll do to you if you do not tell me quickly. She whips her whip as she says. Besides, what makes you think I don't have better things to do than slay these mortals that have pleased me? Oh, wait. That would make sense, right? If Azazel was looking for our boy, the first game's Anuxius, right? That would make sense because Azazel was the assistant to Nerul, and Anuxius killed Nerul, and Azazel was free to do her own thing. So I think that's a good situation for her. I'm guessing she must have done like some good stuff in Demon's Choice. So yeah, she must have gotten like better benefits than what she was getting with Nerul. That's why she's happy. I please you? Oh, she's talking about him. Okay, everything I said, ignore that. That made no sense considering that she was talking about him then. I please you? You say, a smile glowing on your own face. I don't like to boast, but I do put forth my best effort. Women have hard lives and deserve a better. I mean, you shall please me with a truthful answer to your question, says Azazel, interrupting you. I'll know the truth in your words. Scroll says Inuxis is probably in Ring City. You say, right under my nose. Azazel stares at you for a moment, then says, we're in Ring City. For that, I shall need some information from you. You say. She grits her teeth. Do not test me. For beings as powerful as yourself, it is but a pittance that I ask. You say. I want to find someone. Kriya is the name she went by. Some personal effects of her for you to use for scrying. You're not sure if scrying is something a succubus does, but you learned long ago to at least try to get something in a negotiation, even if you're not in a good position to do so. Besides, time is of the essence with Thok seeking revenge upon you. The sooner you get back Agra's protection, the better. It might be nice to scry for Kriya now without having to track down a proper wizard. Yeah, who even would take that offer up? And like when you bring out the panties, like, oh yes, please sit down. Yes, you want to scry this person? Okay, I'll do it. What do you have of their personal belonging and underwear? Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. That would not go well. I would think at least you would get an eye at least. Krugel groans on the floor. Right, his head didn't get chopped off. He just got stabbed in the neck. Flips from side onto his back. Blood trickles from his head into the water. Azal stares at the truth stare for a moment and then turns her attention back to you. What personal effect do you possess of Kriya? You pull Kriya's wet underwear out of your soaked cloak. Place them on a pedestal beside the crystal ball. You back away as crystal lands near the pedestal. She picks up the clothes and smells them. She smirks at you. An inspired choice. I mean, that was not my intention, alright? So, will you do it? You say, yes. She says with an indulgent wave of her hand, I shall open a portal back to my quarters. I have a scrying stone there. You have a scrying stone here, you say, pointing at the nearest one. Indeed, take your pick. He scowls. Spoken like a man who knows nothing of magic. I shall use my own stone. I will not be played a fool and taken back to your lair, you say. Azazel glares at you for a moment, her petite nostrils flaring. Finally, she nods. I shall see what I can do. She gazes into the crystal ball on the pedestals. Oh, she forced her to use the normal scrying stone. Okay. The pedestal and begins chanting as she arranges the undergarments before the stone. She begins waving one hand over the stone and the other over the garments. From the distance of the doors, direction of the door in the distance, you hear a thundering noise, followed by clumps of many footsteps. The scrying stone glows for a moment, then turns clear. She says, staring to the ball. Your woman has some protection in place. You cannot find her? You say, I did not say that, she says sharply. She waves her hand over the stone. Landscape appears. You cautiously approach to get a better look. It's a bird-eyed view of a narrow river with slightly forested hills. That could be anywhere. I gotta get an exact fix on her, says Azazel. Perhaps using my own stone I could. There is pounding on the double door, followed by a muffled shout. Master? He appears unavailable. Azazel smiles and looks over at the corpse of the dark elf. Tell me, Rooster, are you certain you don't want to come to my lair? Give me something better, you say, motioning at the scrying stone. Alright, well, what can we fucking do at this point? This is fucked. Azazel gives you a warning look, but then turns back to the stone. She carefully slides her hand along the crystal. The image shifts, and now you are looking into the distance, faintly miles away. You can make out what might be walls on a cliff. There, you say, a castle? More thumping on the door. Master, you summoned us? Azazel mutters a strange word, touches her throat, and lifts her chin. I no longer have need of you. Be gone. He says in a voice tone that is exactly like Darren. Master, are you certain? You use the most urgent of calls, says the voice. I'm certain of everything, I say. Now go before I have you played. I don't think that's how Darren talks, but okay. She shouts again, using her impeccable impersonation. You, Azazel, wait for a moment. Wait in silence for a few seconds before hearing receding footsteps. The dead to me are growing, says Azazel, flexing her wings. My thanks, you say quickly, and pointing at the crystal. Can you show me what these walls are? Getting closer. You ask more than you know, says Azazel. This is taxing. Before you can say anything, she utters another strange words and slides her hand on the crystal. The walls in the distance zoom in, and soon you can see towers and houses. There are black and gold banners flying. That is House Engrain, says Azazel. I was just studying the heraldry of this region. House Engrain is not far, you say. Less than 2 days' journey, I should think. There, you have it, says Azazel. Clasping her hands close. Your prey is close. She She takes flight, lands near Krugel. She looks up at the door that echoes with another round of pounding. Now for your part of the bargain. But you did not give me I don't think it's the time. I don't think this is the time. But you did not give me her exact location, you protest. That was not the bargain. You asked that I scry upon her. That's exactly what I did. The fact that she was cloaked by powerful magic is not my concern. At least you know she's along the river, a few miles from Fortress Igraine. That is good start. So she's by the river, not in the fortress. That's good. He grabs the truth seer by the ropes, pulls him onto his feet. He chants a few words and kisses him on his lips. Her eyes flutter open. He convulses. She lets go and he moans, "Oh, gods above." He whispers with a faint smile growing on his face. Azazel slaps Krugel and points at you. "This boy is going to speak. You're going to tell me whether he speaks truth or not." She nods at you. "Tell me what the scroll said." Takes a deep breath. You ready your sword. Anuxius and his companions are believed to be using the Temple of Eternal Love in the inner ring as a base of operation. Does he speak truth? Azazel says, looking pointedly at Krugel. "Yes, my lady," he says. "You're telling me everything you know about Anuxius' whereabouts. He's using magic," she says. He's using magic. He and his friends are infrequently spotted, and when they are quickly lost, you say. "The scroll I read didn't seem absolutely certain. That's all I know." Krugel nods. Through the door, you hear a slithering sound approaching. Azazel stalks over to Phoebe, who is slowly moving her jaw. The paralyzing spell cast on the little girl must be warning off. It took a long time to get it off of her. I guess she doesn't have that. I mean, she's a demon. Shouldn't she have like more resistance to that? But okay. Double door shudders under a heavy pounding. A terrible voice slides through the door. It must be the Thogs. Through the door, like a spider crawling up your body into your ear. "Let us in." "I know that accent," says Azazel. "That's another demon." She shakes her head. "Will I ever escape the abyss?" she mutters as though to herself. Oh, Azazel is trying to leave the abyss? That's interesting. I mean, considering we have a God Slayer on she's probably meeting him to discuss some terms regarding that exact thing. Azazel closes her eyes, mumbles some arcane words and motions with her hand. A rip opens in space before her. The rim of the tear glows blue. Azazel plucks Phoebe off of the demon's corpse with one arm, and now carrying her like a log of firewood. "Come with me, Truthseer," she commands. Krugel trips and nearly falls on his face in his urgency to comply. "Wait," says Azazel. "Grab that head. I shall have my trophy." Krugel heads over and scoops up the head of Vanessa and cradles it as blood drips from his arm. "And the sword," says Azazel. Krugel picks up the sword near the Vanessa's headless book. Just say in a single line, what is this? "And the book." This is ridiculous. Krugel runs to the pedestals and, with some awkward balancing, now carries the book sword in one arm and the head in the other. Grunts with the strain of his burden as he rushes to Azazel's side. With a free hand, Azazel shoves Krugel through the portal and disappears. One of the door becomes a roaring thunder as the large wooden barrier bulges. One of the hinges is coming loose. "Where are you going?" you say. "I changed my mind. I shall go with you," you say. She laughs. "That chance is gone. I'm sure you and Demon Vale will die most gloriously." She steps through the portal. You rush after her, but the portal quickly disappears. Now, alone with only the corpse of Darren, the Toad Demon, Headless Vesa, and both blood demons. Unfortunately, the violent shaking double doors before you suggest that you shall soon be taking your place among these corpses. There is no other exit in the room, at least not visible. The water pool in the corner of the room may include a water channel to somewhere. That could be an exit for you, or maybe just an expedient means of drowning. Oh right, that one guy did come out of that water pool. Another option would be to shout through the door, try to convince them to leave. Finally, you can stand ready beside the door and prepare an ambush. Since there's another demon coming in, we highly doubt with their entirety, whatever like forces he's bringing, even if he comes alone, I highly doubt in this situation we can fight them, especially with 2 life. And I think they're preparing it. This is a single part choice. I'm pretty damn sure they're gonna try to use the pool to escape. I don't think there's any other option available here. The other 2 options are clearly not gonna work. So this is a linear choice again. I mean, another thing I was wondering, like, our character like takes a lot of beating, man. I mean, I was saying that like in like every one of these games, you know, you feel powerless, and that's completely fine by me. I mean, that's fine. I don't really mind all that much, but it's not as problematic in Wizard's Choice. I mean, there are situations you're always like on the edge with this shit, but it never felt like demeaning or like just like extremely, the feeling of powerlessness was never there. In this one, they are really going for that, because essentially this, like, we have no power, we're running, fighting, killing, getting killed, and just every single second we are close to death. Every female is out to fucking fuck us over at every given point. It just doesn't get any better. It just is just worst. It's just the worst.